A couple of years back when the University of Maryland brought Michael Locksley back home to the DMV, they brought him for a number of reasons. One, he had been the best assistant in college football at Alabama. But two, they knew that man could recruit. And this recruiting cycle has been no different. According to one estimation, the folks at 247sports.com, Maryland's 2022 class ranks 29th nationally and 8th in the Big Ten. I believe, Coach, that's your third, I don't want to shortchange you, your third straight top 30 class you're working on. You're flipping them with the best of them as usual, and so good to have you here now, Coach Locksley. Got so much to cover with you. Thank you so much. Happy holidays for being, and thank you for being here. Happy holidays to you and your family. But first, Coach, I want to get to the business at hand. You got the Pinstripe Bowl coming up against Virginia Tech on December 29th. What does being in this bowl game represent for your program and its growth here in your third year to get to a bowl?
You know what, Michael, first of all, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. And, being able to play in the bowl game here in year three, and I use year three kind of gingerly because with the pandemic and a short start, I look at it like year 1.5. What it does is it continues to paint the picture that we've taken a significant step here at the University of Maryland to put together a football program that is heading in the right direction. You know, as I've said, by no means the 6-6 the standard for us, but being able to have a bowl eligible team, which allows us to continue to grow the Maryland brand, whether it's practicing and developing the young players and then getting into a bowl cycle, as we found. Once you get into this cycle, it's a win-win for everybody, especially the growth of a young program. And so for our 25 seniors leaving here that have never participated in a bowl, we're excited for them to have this opportunity and this experience.
Speaking of this experience, it's a complicated one, to say the least. I think we just saw earlier today, if I'm not mistaken, Texas A&M had to withdraw from their bowl game because of a COVID outbreak. How are you navigating keeping your team healthy and your players available, trying to just get to December 29th?
Yeah, you know what? We did a lot of work on the front end, man. Our medical staff here, Dr. Yvette Rooks and her staff, 90% of our team was fully vaccinated. And then we actually a week ago had a booster clinic here for our players where we had 55 of our guys go get the booster shot. So we've done everything from providing these type of resources to protecting ourselves to create this. But then, for us, it's just continuing to talk about masking up indoors and, limiting your being around large gatherings as much as possible. I know for our team to be able to get to this bowl game is really important. And so they're willing, again, to make the same sacrifices that they had to make almost a year or two ago when this pandemic first came about. I mean, it was a tremendous amount of sacrifice on 18 to 22-year-olds to give up their freedom to be able to play the game, and they've done just that. So we're battling it like everybody else, but I feel really good about our opportunities and chances to get through it.
Coach, Mike talked in the beginning about your recruiting successes since you returned to Maryland. And I've always wondered about this. The top end of it, you look at, Texas A&M, and a lot of circles was the top-rated class. Alabama up there, about recruiting in Alabama very well. But when you get outside of the top 10, if you had to describe the recruiting process to somebody like me who has no idea how to do it, where to start, how do you describe it? What's the beginning of it like? What's the middle? And how do you land that plane?
Well, I can tell you right now that it's a grind, and we need like a four series documentary to kind of describe it. But here's what I'll tell you: in the 30 years I've been in the business, this thing has grown from where you call a parent and deal with the high school coach and the player to one recruit equals 7 or 8 people that are involved with this recruit, from his trainer, his high school coach, his girlfriend, his 7-on-7 coach. You don't recruit one person, and I always call you surround the kids.
Wait, Coach, you really talking to girlfriends? Sorry to cut you off. Like, did you meet? Like, are you being sarcastic, or are you really talking to girlfriends?
You are talking to whoever has the ear of this recruit to sell your program. And yeah, these guys, you'll find out, man, these guys share locations with their girlfriends, as I found in recruiting. And I'm like, what's that all about? But we talk to anybody and everybody that will be able to help sell your program, sell what it is that you have to offer this kid. And sometimes it is girlfriends, man. And you know, it didn't used to be that way when I first got into this business, but it's a matter of it's like finding where's Waldo, who's the person that'll have the ultimate ear of the kid to say, hey, because at some point he's going to ask somebody, what do you think? And so it's not just one call to the parents and to the coach anymore. It's a bunch of people involved in this process. And, you know, it's a lot of work.
All right, hey, let me ask a quick follow-up on that, Mike, if you don't mind. In this process with so many people involved, I can imagine, like if you're just talking to the parents, you have a pretty good sense of, hey, is my message landing or not? Now, have you been surprised either way where you think, this is not going well, and the kid is coming your way, or you think it's going very well and it just goes in the other direction? Do you have any examples of both scenarios?
I mean, all of the above. You know, there's a recruit that signed with us this year, and I can tell you it's kind of an embarrassing story, but the Saturday before signing day, we sit in the big staff room where all of our coaches are around this big conference table, and we're watching him on Instagram Live. He's going to unveil where he's going to school. And, you know, my coaches that recruited him felt really good about it. I didn't have a good feel for it because as the head coach, you're not on the front line like you used to be. And we're sitting around this table. We've got a video camera waiting to show us, joyfully celebrating him coming. And he picked up the wrong sweatshirt, man. And it was kind of embarrassing. I got up, I stormed out the room, and I had to go to my office and sulk and kind of compose myself. And, you know, but I will tell you that he wound up signing with the Terps on Wednesday. But after a lot of hard work and a lot of due diligence to figure out what went wrong, and when you talk about messaging, making sure that the people that are important to him understand the beautiful, the wonderful things that the University of Maryland has to offer a player like him.
You know, I'll actually follow up on that as well, Michael, because, you know, we talked about, it reminded me of the scene with Travis Hunter when he ended up committing to Deion Sanders and Jackson State and really shocking the college football world. Obviously, you got your head down trying to get people to come to College Park. But I wonder, as you, and this also speaks to what you were talking about a minute ago about all the different people you have to recruit along with the player these days, this being the first recruiting cycle in the era of name, image, and likeness, and as best you could, as you surveyed the entire landscape of college football, how, you know, some people kind of bemoaned it and said, oh my goodness, it's out of control. You know, this is the worst thing for college football. And, you know, how do you view the recruiting world through the prism of name, image, and likeness?
I'm all for it from day one. I mean, I was a guy that grew up here in the DMV that, you know, as a young kid, you know, I grew up in the ticket scalping business, 12-year-old, 13-year-old going over to RFK and going up to McDonough Arena. And I watched, you know, Patrick Ewing go from McDonough Arena, where they had 4,000 people on campus at Georgetown, to selling out the Capitol Center, the Cap Center over there in Landover, where there's 18,000. And so just by having Patrick Ewing on that team and seeing the impact economically he had on Georgetown and the athletic department. So from day one, I've been a proponent of NIL and players' ability to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. So I don't have a problem with it. And what I'll tell you, it's not as bad as everybody tried to make it seem, because, you know, as we're starting to find out, this has become more regional than national. Very few players have a national brand at the college level. So a lot of it is pretty much geared toward the locale of the university. It's not, you know, astronomical numbers because, you know, people from an advertising standpoint don't know how to use this new genre of people coming through to market their products. Now, I think it'll continue to grow. It'll continue to get better, but it has not been a issue, at least on our team. And we have a few guys that are represented nationally by some top marketing people. And it's been really successful for our players.
Coach, I was telling you during the break, you know, we have a mutual friend in Kevin Cooper, who you work with, who I've known for a long time. And I reminded him that you were going to be on the show today. Loyal viewer of the show. He's probably watching right now. What up, Coop? And he said, He said, Coach has got a great vision because his give a crap meter is on low, and he's trying to make change. And that brings me to really the topic we're excited to talk to you in general, but back in August of 2020, you formed the National Coalition of Minority Football Coaches. And I'll just read this for people who aren't familiar, if you give me a moment. The NCMFC was formed as a multi-pronged effort to remove roadblocks, increase awareness, and spur action toward fair and equitable hiring at all levels of football. The nonprofit organization seeks to prepare, promote, and produce qualified minority coaches to ascend in the ranks of college and professional football. And Marcus Freeman is one of your coalition members who just got the job at Notre Dame, as Michael and I both celebrated. Coach, in August of 2020, what moved you from talking about this issue to taking action when it comes to correcting it?
Yeah, it was a lot of things. We went live with it in August, but it really started during the months of the pandemic from like March 12th when we broke and never returned to work until June. It was the first time in my career, I've been coaching 30 years, that I was at a standstill. Like there was nothing to do, no recruiting, no going to the office, no spring ball. And it really gave me a chance to really reflect on my career, man. And I've been really blessed. I was a fired minority head coach that got recycled to his dream job. I'll go from being fired at the University of New Mexico to landing my dream job here at the University of Maryland, a team I grew up as a kid rooting for. And during that time, we do this thing in football called quality controlling, self-scouting. And it made me think, having all that time to myself where I started reflecting back on my career and just how fortunate, lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it, that I am to be leading the University of Maryland. And it made me think back to say, man, when I was at New Mexico in 2009, I think at one point we had gotten up to 18 minority coaches at the collegiate level. And then when I look back in 2020, when the pandemic hit, it had dropped to, I think, 13 between college and the NFL. And it just blew my mind because it just reminded me that we weren't moving forward. We were actually moving backwards. And I grew up in what was called the Black Coaches Association era, where John Thompson and Nolan Richardson and, all these great coaches stood up from a basketball standpoint for issues like this. And as I look back, there were really no organizations there to help necessarily move the needle forward, especially when it came to the hiring of Black coaches or minority coaches in football, women included. And so I picked up the phone, man, and I just started using my connections and network. And I remember calling Mike Tomlin with the Steelers, who's a great friend of mine. I said, Mike, we got to do something, man. I said, I'm on the back nine of my career. I just turned 50 at that point. I said, this thing doesn't look like it's getting better, and I'm afraid of what our future looks like for minority coaches. We need to do something. And I said, I'm thinking about creating an organization that can help prepare young coaches or coaches, promote them, the jobs they're doing, and then producing names because, there's this stigma out there that they're not qualified candidates to lead NFL, college, or even some of the top high school programs in the country. And it's just not true. And so because of that, an idea was born, and I used all my social equity with working for Nick Saban and bringing Bill Polian on board and Rick Smith, he and I came into this business together. Debbie Yao has been a mentor for mine. So Ozzie Newsome, Doug, all these names that are on my executive board, these guys all got behind it, and an organization was born to basically, and I wanted to be very concise and just work on football. And I thought one of the issues the BCA faced was we tried to be too many things to too many people to too many sports. I wanted to be football centric with it. And it's really taken off in just a short period of time. We've grown the right way, and we've had positive impact even going into this hiring cycle where, 25% of guys that were part of this academy we created were able to be hired at jobs like Notre Dame, Virginia, and places like that. So not the finished product, but a work in progress, but I think definitely headed in the right direction.
You said a lot of good stuff there, and I'm intrigued by something you said in the very beginning when you said you were a fired coach in New Mexico who was recycled and then eventually landed your dream job. That's a lot of experience. and a lot of testimony there for you. So if you look at why the numbers are so low, you've been through the lows. You're at a great position now. From your experience, why are the numbers what they are? If you just had to guess, speculate, or use your insight to kind of tell that story of why the numbers are so meager.
You know what? I would attribute it to a moving target, meaning, you never know what the criteria are that the people that are making these hires at the highest level, whether it's the NFL, whether it's collegiate football at the highest level, what it is that they look for and criteria-wise. That target continues to move, but I also think it has to do with access. And to me, that's kind of what this coalition is all about, is trying to create access for minority coaches, for that high school coach that wants to get the top high school job in his area, finding ways to prepare him, promote him for the job that he does where he is, and then produce them to people that are going to make these hires to say, we do have qualified minority individuals that can do the job. And again, we're not here to turn people's or twist people's arms to hire them, but they for sure should take a good look at them, because, with the type of people we have that are affiliated with our organization, these people are vetted the right way through people that have won at the highest levels, have made these type of hires. And so that's where we've seen some of our success.
Hey, Coach Locksley, we appreciate the access to you. You're about a week out from a major moment in your program, the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium against Virginia Tech. We wish you all the best. Stay safe. We appreciate you, and let's keep in touch. We support your work. We'll continue to support you. And happy holidays to you and your family and your team. Thanks so much for joining.
Same to both of you guys. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.